Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's album review is on the Chameleons' 1986 album called Strange Times. Um, Strange Times were a post-punk band that were formed in 1981 in near Manchester in the city of Middlesex in 1981. They were pretty much a post-punk band. They had three albums, I think 1983, 80, 85, and then this album. And then shortly after that, unfortunately, their manager passed away. They had some label issues, um, and they pretty much disbanded after this album. So, their first three albums are pretty highly regarded, or their only three albums are pretty highly regarded. And I'm reviewing their third album. Not sure why I chose this album, although I've heard it before. So of the three albums, I suppose I wanted to start with one that was at least a little familiar, and then kind of go into their other two albums. Um, I've heard a couple of these tracks on this album over the years, but never really dove into the album until now. Or actually, I'm sorry, I did hear this about a month or two ago, which kind of had it in the back of my mind. And then when I was doing these focus video reviews on dream pop and shoegaze and indie pop, I figured I'd add this one to it. This would be perfect for it. So yeah, but I did hear this album in full for the first time a couple months ago. But um, I got a chance to review it here a couple days ago, and really enjoyed the album overall. I think the singer has a really unique voice. It's kind of a nice post punk sound. It's a unique voice. I like the way he kind of sings the higher pitched stuff, and then he kind of does the low part really well as well. So I really like the singer, the voice. Sometimes his voice is a little bit um, I, well, actually, I take that back. Sometimes I feel like a little bit in this album that the drums and the bass line are a little bit too far back in the mix, but sometimes his voice is also a little bit low in the mix. I feel like um, some of this, as far as like some of the songs, they have sort of a dramatic sort of play element to them, like the almost I wouldn't say it's like Peter Gabriel, like when Peter Gabriel sort of does like like his first couple solo albums, he sort of has like a prog rock sort of. It sounds like he's writing a play and how he performs it. There's a little bit of that in this, where it almost sounds like sort of dramatic, like it could be a play. Like Tears, for example. It almost sounds like it could be Mark Allman singing in it. Like it kind of has that sort of uh, play. Again, it's sort of like a play, like a screenplay, like a feel to it. And of course, it's post punk as well, so um, it's really interesting. Their songs flow really well. And the great thing about them too is like none of the songs feel too long, even though some of them are like 7, 8 minutes long. They don't feel too long, and that's another thing is not only does his voice unique for a post punk band, but their songs are a lot longer than post punk, a lot more uh, experimentalism in the songs, and they kind of drift and they have different parts. They're all like 3 4 minute songs, like short songs. They really have a lot of more depth to them. Um, I put it in my note here that they take some risk and evolve the songs uniquely, like I was saying there, like Soul in Isolation and Time and then Tears. It's cool how they kind of evolve the song through the time in the songs. It makes them a lot more unique than just your average post punk band. I really like the guitar work of the Chameleons in general. Um, I like the post punk production value of it. It sounds like a post punk album, which is cool. In some ways, the band is kind of ahead of their time. The drums definitely sound post punk. There's that kind of sort of a Joy Division type drummer in it. I don't necessarily have this album, but I do want to mention that I love the artwork on the album and their other albums as well. As far as the opportunities on the album, really nothing really. Maybe in the mix a little bit, the bass lines and the drum could be a little bit more pronounced. Sometimes his voice seems like a little low, but there might be a little bit more room there for a little bit some louder instruments at parts. But it's 1986, and it sounds very of the time for a post punk band, anyways. Kind of going into some of the tracks. Mad Jack, I like 2.5 stars, pretty good. Caution, 3.25 stars. The guitar almost sounds like Johnny Marr at first, which is cool. I like the pace of this track, the melodic guitar playing. It has kind of like an epic feel to the entire track. 3.25 stars. Also, Tears is 3.25 stars. Nice acoustic, sort of reminds me of Bauhaus or Love and Rockets type song. The way it kind of sings it and the way it flows, kind of almost sounds like Love and Rockets a little bit. 3.25 stars as well. My favorite track is one that I've heard for years and never got around to checking out this album is Soul in Isolation. Love this track. 4.25 stars. I like everything about the track. The drums, the guitar, haunting voice, bass line. The singing is epic. It's kind of rocking a little bit. It's on the more energetic side. I think the middle part of the song really just helps it get to the next level really well. 4.25 stars. Great song. Swamp Thing, I really like this song as well. It's my second favorite on the album. 3.75 stars. The guitar and the beat, bass line, great opening. How can you not love the guitar in this song? It's amazing. Track 6 is called Time / The End of Time. Very good song also. The acoustic part is a unique change for the song, for the album and the song. 3.5 stars. Sirio City? It's close to being a great song, or close to being a very good song. It's just there's definitely something special and unique going on in this song. It just sort of misses the opportunity, I feel like, in the last minute or so in the song to really kind of take it anywhere. I feel like it's really building up really well, and then it just doesn't really kind of come through. I don't know if I'm the only one who kind of feels that about the song, but it just feels a little bit like the ending was kind of, I wouldn't say rushed to be completed, but it just doesn't. It sounds like there's really something special, unique, and it sounds like it's going to build up to something cool, but it just doesn't really get there. Still a good song overall, though. 2.5 stars. In answer, I got 2.75 stars. Not quite the level of the album, in my opinion. It ends with two pretty strong songs. Childhood, I give it 3 stars, and I'll Remember, 3 stars. I'll Remember ends the album. It's kind of a instrumental. Not kind of. It is an instrumental. And then Childhood was track number 9. Interesting. This one's almost happy. Probably the most happiest song on the album. It's kind of Cocteau Twins a little bit in some ways. I like the last minute or so. It helped to kind of push over the edge. And I kind of had it 2.5 stars, and then the last minute or so kind of pushed it over the top, and I gave it 3 stars. So when I add up all the stars, 31.25 stars divided by 10 tracks, 3.15, really strong rating, right in the 70s. I gave it a couple extra points and took it to 75 out of 100. I think it's right in between very good and a possible classic. It's right up there. I think it's a really strong album. It's hard to really pinpoint any post-punk album that was this good in 1986. I wouldn't call New Order post-punk in 1986. Trying to think what other post-punk is around in that year that really hasn't kind of gone on to either EBM or what have you, but or maybe it's more goth or something like that, or death rock or goth. But post punk in the mid '80s is, I don't know what, I'm kind of blanking on some obvious ones, but what's post punk in like 1983, to like 1987, right? It's kind of more post punk is probably 79 to like 83. But having said that, the that what this sounds like, it sounds like a post punk album. A little bit of new wave, a little bit of indie rock in there for sure. But if this is indie rock, this is way ahead of the time. So this album has some legendary status quality to it. It's some classic level music on here for sure. It's just a couple good songs, better songs away from being a classic. I think especially for the genre. I wouldn't say an all-time classic, but for the genre, it's pretty close. Pretty close. Really good album. Really enjoy it. 75 out of 100. Looking forward to reviewing the other two albums by Chameleons. So yeah, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on the band. Also, I find it kind of sad that they didn't continue on. But they are kind of an '80s band, right? I mean, what would they have sounded like in the '90s? I wonder. Would they have just gone into indie rock? And you know, some bands are very like of the age, and even if they did music later on, you'd be like, well, I don't know how they would sound. They're kind of the moment or of the time. Doesn't mean they don't have talent. They kind of have a very '80s sound to them, and that's not a bad thing at all. I certainly enjoy that. Most of the music I love is from the '80s. That's when I grew up. So, all right, thanks for watching. Curious if you have any thoughts on this album, and what would you rate this album out of 100, considering my scoring system? Note. All right, take care.